They're fighting each other. Let them be. Hit him once.
Kill.
Nice.
High squad showing up. Nice. Let me know when you're doing stuff like that. I'm going to get involved. Oh, look at this. Bam! Get it! Yeah! Oh my! God damn! Well, what's going on, everybody? Looks like it's August 28th, and it's a pretty nice day outside. Well, at least where I'm at. Anyways, let's do the real intro now.
Does it look like August 28th, or is it actually August 28th?
Well, it looks like based on my clock.
Yeah, but according to the calendar.
According to the calendar. But anyways,
There's actually no way to actually tell if it's August 28th or not.
why don't you give us a real intro, though?
All right, welcome to this Twitch stream on apparently August 28th. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to the show. We're a couple disabled guys passionate about all things disability. I'm Ricky, your local quadriplegic. With me, as always, is Bill.
What's going on?
He may not... Wait, shit. The man with weak muscles but a strong heart. And last but not least, we have John.
Yo, I'm here. I'm
so
existing.
He may not be able to see, but is always a sight for our sore eyes. And together we make up Real Life Problems, a podcast by the disabled for the disabled, and I guess the able-bodied too.
They're allowed.
I wonder if I should take out that line, because who was it last week in the chat? They're like, "I'm not disabled. Can I still watch?"
Yeah, they might become after watching, though.
I think we may at least wish to change it. Otherwise, we'll keep getting that running joke. Or we could just let that be our running joke. I mean,
Just let
Yeah.
it be.
an option.
Everyone that joins
As
us ends up
well.
becoming disabled somehow.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like by transference.
Mhm.
Yes.
Argron in the chat already says hello in cat memes. Hello, Argron.
That's actually his emote.
His emote. What's an emote?
You know, like you basically have emotes for like when you become an affiliate. You on Twitch, you basically get like little icons you can make that basically represent your stream that people
So
can use.
his stream is represented by cats saying hello.
Apparently, that's one of them. Mine is like a Fallout guy, and my dog, and one of them is my face too. Actually,
This one's mine.
no, I
that
hadn't
Braille?
seen that one. I had not seen
Yes,
that.
that is Braille. That is the word hype written in Braille as my emote, my Twitch emote.
I like how it kind of looks like Tetris symbols too.
Huh, well, you look at that.
It looks
Didn't
neat.
know I could read Braille with my eyes. Well, anyways, how's everyone doing this week?
I'm trying
I
to
see you're
feel it.
without Can you touching the screen?
It's like I'm
Oh,
trying to
I
touch
can
the
read it.
screen. It's not working. What the hell?
Oh, jeez.
Welcome to We Life Problems. We're a bunch of dicks. To the two people in the chat, which is probably just me and John.
and myself. Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
I count. I don't count.
How are
What?
you doing this week, guys? I noticed you went without the hat today, Bill.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've been doing that a lot because during the summer it gets severely hot down here sometimes. Well, okay, it gets cold in some areas, but this area has been getting like really warm here of late because, well, since getting the other computer and the back of that computer is kind of facing towards me, like
So you're getting all that exhaust.
yeah, it's bad. It's bad. I need to get I have a portable fan. I have like this little fan that runs off of D batteries. It's funny how that we ended up actually getting that. It was like I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Hatteras, but it's an island in North Carolina. You have to take like a ferry to get there. Well, it was a really hot day and we didn't have any fans with us, so it was really miserable. Like I couldn't get out of the car easily because my chair is like strapped down, right? And when you get the cars in there, they're locked in. So I was stuck in the car and we had to like open up windows and stuff, but it still wasn't good enough. And I was so freaking hot, and my mom had to randomly found a fan on Hatteras somehow. And that's how that fan came into existence. Or was purchased or whatever, but it's just this little portable fan.
Nice.
Yeah, dealing with heat sucks.
Oh yeah,
It
for sure.
does. But I'd rather deal with heat. Well, no, I'd rather deal with cold than heat, to be honest.
No, you're crazy. I'd rather deal with heat than cold, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm
Well-
with Ricky on that one.
Well, my logic is, right? Okay, hear me out on this one. In cold
All right, let's
weather,
see
you
what
can
wrong
always
logic you're gonna bring.
in cold weather, you can always add more layers to stay warm.
True.
But eventually in the heat, it gets to a point where you run out of stuff that you can legally take off.
That's the logic everyone always brings to the table to that argument, and even still, I'm just like, no, I fucking hate being cold. I don't care.
Yeah, I despise being cold.
Like everyone has brought that exact same argument, and every single time I'm like, I don't care. Fuck being cold. Being cold sucks.
It sucks.
I will agree, it does, but that's why you just put more clothes on.
But
Layer
who wants
up.
to wear more clothes? I'd rather be naked and free and let everything hang out and just like relax. Like wearing like for me, my muscles are weak. If I put on more clothes, it makes it harder for me to move. And then if I go to somewhere hot, I have to like take it on and off, and that requires assistance from other people. It's too much of a pain in the ass being cold.
It's
But I
That's a fair
respect your
point,
opinion,
too.
John.
That's a fair argument as well. It is.
Yeah.
It is an inconvenient thing.
It is very inconvenient.
For sure.
And then, but the heat also sucks too because I can't sweat. And so
Oh damn.
Oof.
yeah, so I overheat really easily. So kind of I was like in the same boat with you when I went to Lake Anna the other week. I forgot I have this little mist bottle that just sprays really fine mist
Oh
on me, and
yeah.
Yeah, I call
Those are
that my little
nice.
sweat in the bottle. I forgot that, and so we were on the boat, and my friends just had to keep constantly pouring water on my head to keep me cool, and it was fucking miserable, man.
Oh,
I have the
God.
exact opposite problem. I have overactive sweat glands.
Oh, God.
Really,
Yeah.
you was constantly dripping.
No, it could be 70 degrees outside, nice and comfortable, right? And I start exerting myself. I start sweating like a waterfall.
And then he's sweating bullets.
Yeah.
I have another friend who's just like that too. Or we went to Shenandoah last week, and I was making fun of him the entire time because we were in a AC cooled car. The AC was set to like 69 or 70. We stopped to go to the bathroom, and he's like dripping sweat, and we're like, "What the fuck, dude? We're in the AC. Why are you
What the
sweating so much?"
fuck?
And it was just fun.
If I'm exerting myself, it doesn't matter what temperature it is outside. My body's got to cool off. It overheats fairly easily.
Damn.
That stinks, man.
It's annoying. Put it that way.
That's
It's kind of
alright.
funny though,
Yeah.
you know. I used to walk to school, walk to college, and winter times down here in Texas. Used to walk to college and get there, and I'm pouring down sweat from my forehead, and people are like, "How?"
Chow? What do you mean by chow?
How?
Thanks, Turtle. Appreciate
Oh,
that.
how?
Yeah, how? How are you sweating? It's 45 degrees outside. I
Well-
power walked all the way here.
Getting
Doesn't matter.
them-
You shouldn't be sweating.
Getting them glutes working. Ooh, we have some more people joining us in the chat right in the middle of our conversation.
Indeed.
Sweating.
Your mom
Hello,
gay.
everyone.
Yes.
All right. Well, I didn't get to you, John, yet. How are you today? I asked Bill, and then we started talking about sweating like a pig and being hot. How are you today? How are you this week? What's new?
Well, I found a game called Core Defense. It's like Tower Defense meets Slay the Spire, and it's pretty addictive. It's one of those games that I can just zone my brain out to while I listen to YouTube videos
Oh, there you
to
go.
give my body something to do.
What do you listen to on YouTube? Are you talking about like music, or do you just like listen to people like do random shit?
No, actually, I don't. I don't watch videos that I would consider stupid comedy. I don't enjoy stupid comedy.
Right.
I prefer more informational videos. I can't say they're all educational, but they're all informational.
They provide information either way.
Yes.
Give us an example. Inform me.
Yes.
So, one of my favorite channels to listen to is called Did You Know Gaming. They provide a lot of random, useless gaming trivia that you'll never actually need to know, but it's always fun to know.
Yeah.
Like, did you know that there are actually a couple of things in science that derive their names from Pokemon?
Like what?
I forget which exactly. I'll have to look up the videos on it, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's there. It's real.
Huh.
Interesting. I like to. This is quite a topic change from last week. When last week we were talking about fucking and sex. So anyone in
Oh,
the
yeah.
chat, if you're interested in sex, go find last week's video. But still, this is a good change of pace. But I too like to watch informational stuff. I watch this channel Kurtzigig or In a Nutshell a lot. It goes over
Oh
a lot.
yes, that's a good channel.
What is it? What does
Mhm.
he do?
He just goes over a bunch of scientific topics and stuff, and it's cool.
Not just science, sometimes economics, sometimes governmental.
Philosophical. It's
Huh.
Yeah.
They try to be unbiased as possible in their presentation of data and stuff, and it's just good learnings.
What's the name of the channel?
And unlike many other
Kurtzigig.
channels, something
Hey.
like that.
Wait, what was it again, Ricky?
Kurtzigig in a nutshell.
Kurtzigig?
Yeah, it starts
It's
with a K.
difficult to pronounce.
But if you type in a nutshell, you'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay.
One other thing I like about that channel is they are not afraid to go back and revisit topics when they find through further research that they were wrong.
Yeah. Me too.
That's
Yeah, they
pretty
let out a
cool.
whole
That's another
video
thing.
like going out about their entire research process. Was like, yeah, we were wrong on that, so here you go.
Here's the correct info.
That's interesting.
Or oops, we took too many biased sources on this video. Here's some some sources from the other side of the coin.
Right. That's what I like about it.
Enjoy.
I'm glad we agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone in the chat, how are you this week? What's
Yeah,
new since last week?
What's up?
Tell me.
Going on?
I know there's someone in there who can give a response. Someone just dabbed with a cat. You're mangay. Your mam gay.
Your mom gay.
Your mom. Oh.
Your mom gay. No.
Nope. And we just lost someone.
Aw.
Alrighty then.
Oh shit. Oops. I moved off of the thing. I was
You
looking at
end our stream?
No. It just went to a different scene all of a sudden, and I brought it
Oh.
back.
Well, it's
But
okay. It's not like we're anything interesting, anyways. Oh God, what did I just do?
I don't know.
what were you trying to do?
I accidentally just full screened the wrong window.
He doesn't know what he's doing over there.
Oh, well, what's new with me this week? Oh, I started class.
Yeah. Well, what class? Or what class is, I guess, or whatever.
Well, this week started physics, and then in 3 weeks my Spanish class will start back up. But now I'm in physics.
Is this all online or in person or what?
All online.
Okay.
I know a lot of college professors have been starting to teach their classes over Twitch.
Really?
Yeah.
How would that work?
Yeah, it seems like there'd be
I
a delay.
I don't quite know. It's more lecture based. Like they give lectures over Twitch. Dusty Monk actually came into my stream Wednesday and pointed out that he's been watching a lot of it. So,
because I mean, for me, like all my lectures and everything are on Zoom, which is kind of the same thing. Someone listening to someone talking, and there's a chat feature.
Yeah.
But the thing with Zoom is, you can talk or you can type or you can be on camera as well too, so everyone else can see. But Twitch, it's only like whoever.
It's you.
Yeah, it's all you on. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of Twitch and stuff, I guess we should get on to one of the topics we were talking about is the kind of stuff we've been watching. And I mentioned last week that I've been watching High Score, which I finished.
Which I have
and-
not finished yet, but I have watched a decent amount of it.
I marathoned it.
Probably have
Did you?
2 or 3
Yeah.
more episodes, maybe 2 episodes, I think. But I've watched. I've been enjoying it when I have watched it. It's just I got into reading.
I marathoned it. Like
Nice.
straight up, 5 or 6 or however many episodes they've got up right now.
Did you
Nice.
marathon it just to get through it, or did you marathon it because you were so enthralled by it?
More to get through it because most of the information they were talking about is stuff that I already knew.
Yeah, that's what I noticed with some of it.
It's like super common stuff.
Maybe for you guys, I didn't know any of that shit.
Well, I had read a whole book on that, like, but I did think it was interesting about how in that one they talked about Ultra Beast, right? No, that was a different thing I watched.
Yeah, that was different.
That was a different YouTube video.
I mean, they basically just went over the births of like game concepts in certain games and like the game practices and stuff.
Like Space Invaders was the first one they really
Like
went into.
Actually, the most I learned from that was more about the modification boards and how Miss Pac-Man came about. I knew how it happened. I knew how it happened, but it was actually cool to actually get to see on camera the dude that came up with the concept of the modification boards.
Yeah, which ultimately, though, with that, though, it does show you how, that definitely was made less for the... It definitely was not made with a gamer in mind. I mean, it may be a little bit, but it was more about making money, is the way that I got it, because they were like, as an operator, it's all about the
Well,
coin.
Well, that's the deal.
Yeah,
That's the
exactly.
whole point of an arcade, to
Right.
make money.
Right,
The
exactly.
games have to be fun enough so that people want to play them, but
Yeah.
hard enough so that they can't beat them or spend hours and hours and hours on a single quarter. You got to have that income, because
Right.
just
Yeah.
like in the establishment, the longer you have a non-paying customer occupying space, the less paying customers you will inevitably get.
This
And the
is
thing is,
true.
with customers, they like to feel like they're buying something, not like they're being sold something. And when you're giving them a quality game that makes them want to buy more quarters, they feel like they themselves are buying that experience as opposed to being sold that experience, which I think is very interesting as well too.
That's
Mhm.
true. That's true. The one thing that I didn't know is I did not know that about that system, the first cartridge system. I didn't know what was the
Oh,
name?
the Fairchild F.
Yeah, I didn't know about that one.
It had the one thing I'm surprised they didn't show is how weird that controller is.
It's pretty weird.
How weird is it?
Yeah, it's the best way to describe it is imagine trying to play an NES with a TV remote.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Ugh. That's such a
that's
good
how
description.
weird it is.
What's it called again? What's the system?
Fairchild F.
You know what I liked about that show though? The best thing was the presentation was well executed. You could tell it was really well thought out. Like
It
the
was.
intro and the editing and everything was just
It was, but
I
I
like
have
the
one-
8-bit thing.
I have one major bone to pick with the audio describer that they used for that particular series,
See, that's what it looked like, guys. It was like a razor or something. like
because I watched it in descriptive audio.
right.
Because
What's
Netflix
wrong?
has it. The one qualm I have is if you're gonna talk about video game topics or personalities, you gotta know how to pronounce the names correctly. The
Oh,
main
really? The
narrator-
audio description wasn't pronouncing everything correctly.
They screwed up
No.
Bushnell's name.
No, they screwed up Charles Martinet. The most
How did
iconic
that happen?
voice in video game history. They
Wait,
pronounced it Martinet with a hard T.
how do I
That's
know?
funny. That's something I would have never taken into consideration with shows.
Or video. Yeah, or yeah, anything like that, yeah.
Yeah,
What
That
an
was-
interesting perspective.
that was low quality in my book. That one little thing right there. That's the only knock I have against the audio description version. But still, gotta get it right.
Right.
Otherwise, you're gonna have a legion of angry blind gamers beating down your door. You mispronounced it.
But I think it was I think in a lot of ways it was hitting on the surface of a lot of things. And then of what I've watched of it, I mean it didn't it seemed like it didn't deep dive in everything, but I
No.
did find it interesting though how they kind of showed the sort of like the attitude of like what like how Atari was, how it was like this place where people were hooking up, they were smoking weed, they were like just doing whatever, and stuff was
Mhm.
still getting done. And then that kind of became sort of like, I mean, if you look at a lot of the Silicon Valley companies, they kind of adopted that sort of mentality in a lot of ways of this free, like, sort of moving business where it's like people can kind of come and go as they please, but they still get stuff done, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if that's, I don't know if it was just Atari. I think there was other companies involved there, but I just think
It was most of the gaming companies of the era, and
Right.
what ended up happening is public trading came in and shareholder expectations came in and things locked down. That's the way it always happens with every sort of company.
when you go
It's-
public, yeah.
Yeah, its glory days end when you go public.
Exactly. And that's where it's just You know, because it's
The
like
glory
how,
days are over once you go public, and that's the irritating part to me.
well, it's like how you see how like how it seems like MDHR, the studio that did Cuphead, became much different once that game blew up. Like they became a different,
Mm-hmm.
completely different vibe. They had more of an indie vibe before that, but then they kind of not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
that,
when something escalates to be that big, it's no
yeah,
longer just one or two people running it. It becomes
yeah,
a trust or a group of people running it, and
right.
the interests change.
Well, I mean, do you think
It's
that
understandable.
one question I have for you guys, like when you look at retro games, like do you think that there was more of a motivation for financial gain for them, or if it was actually the passion for the creation of the game?
It
Financial.
was both.
Yeah,
For some, it was the financial. For others, it was the passion.
right.
That's why you usually saw the financial people in the leadership positions
Right.
making the hard decisions and the passionate creators doing whatever they do best.
Yeah, but then it seems like, you see directions that Atari kind of went where, obviously we know how well ET did.
Oh yeah, did you
Because it
watch
was a
the
rush
episode on
job.
Sky?
It was a rush job, yeah, exactly. And they did a good job of explaining that in the series about the fact that, you know, that I think that's why the guy can laugh about it at this point.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I made the worst game ever. Like, it's
Mhm.
understandable though because he's like he didn't even understand what was wrong with him because he was just like it was like there was some he had some like unrealistic ability to think that he was somehow going to put together this fantastic thing or something.
Within 3 days,
Yeah, and
mind you.
I love that Spielberg like I just think it was funny how like he wanted it to be like he wanted it to be a clone of like something like why can't you make it more like Pac-Man or something? And I just thought that was funny
Mhm.
thinking of Spielberg saying that because like just
And overall, I think that's what actually hurt the game.
what Spielberg's input.
Yeah, I think I think if he would have went with his original idea instead of having to redraw certain things from scratch.
What was the original idea? They don't. I don't think they really scratched into what the original idea would have been.
I don't think he really knew. He was kind of pitching it as he was
Yeah.
like as it was happening. It seemed like he was kind of pitching the thing, but then I think what Glitch is trying to say is that it kind of went south based on the input of Spielberg because then it kind of like it added more of a mishmash of things going on there,
Yep.
and it was like I think there was just like it didn't even know what it was.
Originally, the idea was supposed to be like his original spitballing brainstorming was more akin to an adventure title where you're exploring places and collecting, what you need, like in the movie. It was a bit more exploration focused. And at the end of it, it turned into more of a level based mismatch of half exploration, half like Pac Man, and all garbage.
And then falling off of stuff repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
I
Have you
never
guys actually
actually,
ever played it?
I have never actually played it.
No, I never intend to play it.
I can't. I refuse to touch that because I think it wouldn't even be worth like booting up.
Really? You wouldn't even touch it? If someone gave you a free copy of it, it's like, hey, play this for 30 minutes. You wouldn't touch it.
All right, I guess if I was given a copy and they were like, here's $5, stream this for 30 minutes, maybe.
I'd play it just for the sheer curiosity of it to be like, bad can it be?
Maybe if they set it up and I didn't have to do anything literally to set it up, if there was no work, then sure, why not?
If somebody just handed me a copy, I'd be like, hey, thanks for the free money. And then I'd go take it to the local preservation museum and sell them a copy of the worst game ever made and make tons of money.
How much would you make? Like $1?
Actually, no. Surprisingly enough, most of the cartridges for that game were buried in a landfill and then later destroyed.
There's a whole documentary about that, by the
Yeah, I
way.
saw that documentary. They dug it all up.
Yeah, and they tried to see what worked.
Yeah,
It's a very
and not
interesting.
many of them did.
Yeah, what's interesting is it actually created a scarcity
Mm-hmm.
because
So,
they were trying to get rid of it. Like, you know how they said, like, they were showing they were showing people talking about it, how they were literally trying to get rid of ET like before Christmas because they were like, this is going to ruin us.
mm-hmm.
It was oversaturated. They oversaturated the market.
Yeah, and some copies are still in the wild, but it's scarcity now. And just like there are collectors who will pay thousands of dollars for the best games ever made, there are the same collectors that will do the same for just any rare or hard to find game, whether it is good or bad quality.
I
Right.
guess I didn't think about the fact that there's a scarcity of it, because I thought like there was an abundance of them.
No, there's not.
Oh,
So
seemed like a
I'd touch it
$2
just
for
long
$1.
enough to make. I'd touch it just long enough to make the sale to a collection museum or something.
Now,
Right.
what was your first gaming experience? First game that you ever got into, you ever played? Either one of you.
Would it surprise you if I said I don't remember? No, literally, I do not remember. My
Yeah.
first gaming experience actually happened before many of my physical memories actually started taking hold
What was
as
the
a
first
child.
What was the first game as a child that you were obsessed with?
Sonic.
Do believe no. Actually, for me, that would be an old DOS game called Jill of the Jungle.
Really?
Yeah, I go way
Okay.
back.
So Sonic for you, Ricky?
Maybe. I don't know. I did, but it was funny, like watching the high score documentary when they went.
Yeah.
They had one episode dedicated to Nintendo, one dedicated to Sega,
Yeah.
and I totally remember all those old ads where they're like Sega, like shouting that at the end, and I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Then I realized
Sega
like, oh,
does what Nintendo don't.
yeah, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh wow, I really was a Sega kid growing up because our first system was a Sega, and I remember Sonic and a few other choice games, Jewel Master. And I think after that, I don't know. I can't remember if my first gaming experience was with my Game Boy or with the Sega, or with something DOS related either too.
Yeah, I never had any of the Sega stuff when I was a kid, but I do really like
I
Sega.
can I can tell you, though I don't have the greatest of memories of these days, my very first gaming experience was actually an old Atari console.
Ah, okay. Which Atari?
When I mentioned at the beginning when I joined the podcast that my mom got me into gaming young, I wasn't kidding.
Yeah, the first memorable system for me was probably the first big one was N64. Although I had played DOS games before that, and I did play games on the Commodore 64 when I was a kid.
I remember
I
the
was
first time I got
always.
an N64.
What was that,
That was
John?
Go ahead, Ricky. I'll catch afterwards.
Oh, I was just saying. I remember the first time we got an N64 was around Christmas time, and my mom tells it this way that my uncle worked at a Toys R Us and was able to get us one, put us on the top of the list, so we had one. I remember the first time I
Damn.
played um um Mario, and the very first time I played Star Fox, because Star Fox came with the Rumble Pack, and I was like, this
Yeah.
thing is huge. Put it in the controller, and then I remember sitting in TV, and it's like my controller's shaking, and those were memorable moments for me, but not my first gaming experience moments.
Yeah, Star Fox. That's a great game.
I remember when I got my 64 as well, but I was always a Nintendo kid.
How
But,
was I good? I don't understand how I was ever good with that Trident controller.
I don't either. The
Just
funny
was.
part is when I got my 64, it was a Christmas gift. I don't remember which side or where in the family it came from, or whether it came from one of the outreach programs that we were part of, because I was always a poor kid. But
Came from Santa.
somewhere it came,
And it
and
materialized.
it was relatively like it wasn't immediately on N64 launch. It was about 3-4 months, which, as you know,
Yeah.
Nintendo 64 didn't do pack-in titles for a very long time.
Yeah, that's true.
So I got the console, and the person or place that it came from didn't realize or didn't know that there was no pack-in game.
So
Oh.
you just had a 64 and just like, well, guess I can just stare at this while it's plugged into the TV.
I could turn it on and off.
Pretty much.
How long was it before you actually had a cartridge to put in it?
A couple of weeks.
Oh
Oof.
God. No.
And my first N64 game, Tetrisphere. No Mario, no Star Fox, none of the greats, none of the ones people think of. It was Tetrisphere.
But I mean, maybe that created a lifelong obsession with Tetris. I don't know. Seems like you do like Tetris.
It was part of it. I already had an obsession with Tetris before that happened. and this was like Tetris in a whole new world. I'm like, whoa. You know? I flipped over that game, and if I wasn't playing that game, I was still playing all the classics I loved on my Super Nintendo.
I remember the first game that I ever played was NBA Hang Time, I think is what it was called. And the thing that I remember about that game is I remember it had the 90s Bulls in it, which, I mean, there's never going to be a team like that ever again in basketball. I don't care what anybody says. There never will be a team like that again. But you could change Dennis Rodman's hair. And I remember that was so awesome. Like, I love the fact that you could change his hair color in the game. And we'd always play as the Bulls. Like, we'd always play as the Bulls. And I just remember having so much fun with that game. I remember that we literally had set it up on the kitchen table. Like, because I guess my dad was too lazy to actually set it up somewhere else at the time. So we just literally had it out in the kitchen and we were just playing it like that night. And I just remember it just being this awesome. I don't know. I love that game.
If we're talking about games that we loved, and I don't know if you guys were Sega guys at all ever, but did you guys ever play Mutant League Football on Sega?
No.
God.
I didn't really play any sports games. The
Neither
closest
did
I
I,
got
but-
to a sports game was Mario Kart.
But the Mutant League Football was the only sports one I ever played. But you can choose like you're either like zombies, skeletons, or stuff, and you play against each other. And like there were like holes in the field that you could like fall into, or you could like tackle the coach and kill him, or like if you tackle someone too hard, their bodies just explode into bones and stuff. So you would like constantly be losing players. And me, like I didn't understand a single goddamn thing about football, but me and my brother would always play Mutant League Football and just try and just constantly kill each other or kill the ref or try and force each other to fall into like an explosion pit or something.
Speaking of
great.
that, I remember one time my buddy, I was getting pissed off at Madden, and then he brought out Blitz the League to make me feel better.
God.
That game,
Blitz the League is the only way I will ever play
because you
football
could beat
games.
people with like things, and you can like totally just decimate the field. Like,
It's like what Blitz the League is my perfect example of what would happen if Mortal Kombat had a twisted stepchild with the NFL.
it's a great game though. Blitz the League
It
is like,
is.
the best. Like, if you
Like tackling somebody so hard that you actually get the visual on-screen representation, like X-ray vision of the bone breaking.
Yeah, so it's kind of like on the same. I feel like those games probably are on the same sort of like idea.
I loved it. It was the only way I would ever play football.
Yeah,
Nice.
I don't know. Sports games to me kind of just I don't know. They're a little bit lackluster. They're not as exciting to me anymore because it's just like an updated roster, you know. I don't know. I'm just not in love with them like I used to be. I used to like them a lot more, but I don't know. I just kind of want a different flavor, you know.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about WWE wrestling games now.
They kind of overdone it.
Yeah. Glory days for me was SmackDown 2
The
on
64
PlayStation.
the 64 I played a lot of wrestling games on the 64. And that
Oh, I did too.
that to
Rise
me,
War.
yeah, that to me was when it was like when they were, when wrestling was like the games were awesome for me. Now I just
Yeah.
feel like it's kind of like, I'm good. I can
Yeah.
pass.
You know what I liked about that documentary though? Is it showed the tenacity of people who wanted to actually get something done, would get something done. Like in the last couple episodes
True.
when they were talking about the guy who created Doom, how much he like hyped that up before even like
Yeah,
having the idea of what to do with it.
Carmack.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He was like hyping it up like crazy, and then talking about all the PvP you'd be able to do before they even coded everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I like my favorite quote from him is that storylines in video games is like a storyline in porno or something like that. I forget the exact line. I gotta remember what it was that Carmack said, but it was hilarious. Like just the way he put it. What was it?
What's
Josh?
really
I had
funny?
such fond experiences with Doom because um at the time, me and my friend, who is no longer with us anymore, I would go over to his house, and his dad had two computers in the same room. So I remember going over to his house in like third and fourth grade. It was just, so that was like 98, 97 or something like
Yeah.
that. And we just play Quake and Doom on those two computers like all night long. And that was like my first experience with playing like computer games, and I was just fucking enthralled. I
Oh,
loved it.
here's the quote. Story in a game is like a story in a porno movie. It's expected to be there, but it's not that important. That's what Carmack said.
The funny thing is, right? The funny thing is, and this is something that confuses me now after having watched that and after realizing,
Yeah.
seeing what happened. Like Carmack made a lot of promises with Doom and what he was talking about, and not everything that he promised made it into the game. Yet it was solid, right?
Right.
Well, look at what happened with Sean Murray and No Man's Sky a few decades later. All these promises, a lot of stuff did make it into the game, but not everything, and
Right.
people hated it. Yet it was still a solid game. Like, how
Yeah.
is this double standard? Two people pull the same thing. One dude gets away
Yeah.
with it, one dude doesn't.
Yeah.
One game was more fun than the other.
But I think also there was a series of other games that came out, I think, as a result of Doom. Because of what, like, Wolfenstein and stuff, and I feel
Yeah.
like that kind of skyrocketed the popularity. I think it had a.
Wolfenstein was before Doom.
It
Yes,
was.
it was.
Okay, it was okay. So I would say,
Wolfenstein was his first game, and then they
yeah,
used that as the basis for Doom.
right. So that's what I
If you had
meant to
finished
say.
the
Yeah.
docu-series, you would have known that, Bill.
No, I actually wasn't. I was never for sure on that, actually, with Doom. I thought Doom was always before because I always thought, oh, I was the guy that was playing the one that was after. I was playing Wolfenstein. I never realized that. I thought that Wolfenstein was
Now,
actually,
would
What?
you like to know what the next evolution for that particular style of game turned into, and it's often forgotten?
Sure.
Yes.
A little known series called Descent. This series sees you flying a small manned aircraft through the same types of environments like caves and bases and tunnels and everything like that. But it was one of the first games to give you a full 6 degrees of movement, like up, down, left, right, rotationals, forward, back, turning, everything.
So what is that game's called? Descent, you said?
Descent. There was a trilogy. 1 and 2 are like the old school ones. Then they released 3 and an expansion for 3, and then there was Free Space and Free Space 2. The series hasn't come back since Free Space 2, which many fans say was the best.
Neat.
But I don't
Oh,
know because I've
this is
never
pretty
played
cool.
anything after the 3rd.
This looks pretty cool, actually. You're like flying around and shooting shit.
Mm-hmm.
There's like doorways and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of the cool things I learned from that documentary too is I didn't know that Kirby was named after one of their lawyers.
Yeah.
What a great way to be immortalized.
One thing that I'm surprised they didn't really talk too much about is the whole fiasco with Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong.
Which fiasco?
Like, I know they covered the King Kong intellectual property stuff where they got sued over Kong in the name, and the judge was like, no, not enough similarities. A monkey named Kong. It's not King Kong. You've got King Kong copywritten. You can't copyright every Kong. So now we have Donkey Kong.
Right.
DK. Donkey Kong.
But originally, the original Donkey Kong was actually supposed to be Popeye.
Popeye?
Themed. Yes, Popeye the Sailor Man themed. That Popeye.
Huh.
What the
Rescuing olive oil from Bluto and all that mess, but they couldn't get the rights for it. So they kept the exact same idea and threw in Mario, who at the time was a carpenter in the original storyline, rescuing his girlfriend Paula.
Huh.
From a giant ape on top of a construction site.
Then he became a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you look at that, folks.
Like I said, there's some stuff they didn't cover.
I mean, I think this documentary really was meant to just scratch the surface of each kind of like episode at hand to kind of draw you in to be able to be like, oh, I wonder what more I can learn about this subject. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
There was a book that I read a while back that I'm trying to remember what the name of it was. It was really good, and it really explained a lot of stuff, like even further.
And those tidbits about Mario, though, those are covered on Did You Know Gaming YouTube channel, so that's a great resource for gaming history and trivia.
Gaming Historian's also really good. He does really good.
Yes, Gaming Historian's awesome.
Yeah, The Ultimate History of Video Games. I would definitely suggest that book. That book is excellent.
It is.
It explains so much about it. There's also another one that I read that was really good was Console Wars, which depicts the battle between Sega and Nintendo.
Yup, that's another good one.
Which is a really interesting story.
And then Masters of Doom.
Masters of Doom. I think I have that on my reading list.
Read list. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another good one.
Do you do a lot of reading, guys? Like, do you like to read?
Hate reading.
Really?
That's what Audible's for.
Yeah, that's why I use audiobooks. But in my class, my physics class, this is the first time I'm actually reading the textbook because I find it so fucking interesting.
But audiobooks count. When I say reading, I'm talking about if you listen to audiobooks as well. because I count that
Right.
as because you are retaining information. You're listening to it, but you're retaining it in a similar way, though.
I will say that I've had an active Audible membership for close to 5 years now,
Yeah.
and it's not leaving my side anytime soon.
Yeah, see, I go through times where I listen to a lot of audiobooks and then times where I don't. The Bible has 66 books. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that's true.
The Bible has 66 books.
I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, that sounds right.
What do you mean?
Well, it sounds right. I think I've heard that, or I think someone told me that before, or I heard that somewhere. I read that somewhere, or something. I knew that.
I don't get it though. The Bible has so the Bible has 66 books that totals up to be the Bible, or the Bible like,
Meaning each
or the Bible has 66 sequels.
I guess if you want to put it that way. I think he was just making I think the books are by the name, like
Yeah.
each one of those names, like so James, or
Revelations, all of those.
are
The thing about it
considered
is,
books.
though, is I don't consider them books. I consider them chapters because it's chapters of one large book.
Yeah, I would
Like, if
say
you want to consider them books, then you're looking at like 66 different piles of paper from like
Yeah.
children's storybook size to pamphlet at the amusement park size.
right. I would say the more accurate description I would say for that would be their chapters.
Yeah.
But
Like, they may
I
be
know
called books, but they are straight chapters.
yeah, I know what he meant though. I know what you mean. But yeah, no, I go from times of listening to books to reading books. It just depends. Like comics I read obviously, but then there's stuff I like to listen to as well.
Right.
I'm trying to think of the last thing that I listened to. It's been a little bit. I think it was like an Ayn Rand thing or something. I think.
Right now, I'm listening to How to Win Friends and Influence People.
That's actually a pretty good book.
It's fucking incredible. I love it. So I'm doing I'm doing research on marketing right now because I'm helping a friend out with some marketing stuff, and so I was looking into what books can I read to learn more about marketing, and How to Win Friends and Influence People is it's one of those books where like it gives you a bunch of information that you didn't know you already knew, and it's kind of like just brings it to the light where you're like, huh, it is that way. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Speaking
it's
of that, I need to probably should listen to that because I need to get better at marketing.
yeah, it's fucking. I've got about an hour left of it, and I highly recommend it. It's definitely a good book of just not just. It's the title itself sounds very manipulative, but it's not. It's just more of like how to not be. I like the way I describe it's like how to not be a dick.
But if you're into self-improvement books, I have one that's going to sound a bit awkward, but it's actually good.
Okay.
Hit me with it.
It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yep, that one's good too. Love it.
I love that book.
Me too.
That's one of the books that is the way I live
Is
here.
it
lately.
helpful?
Oh,
Very.
it's so helpful. I loved it. His other book, The Subtle Art. He came out with another book which wasn't as good. I couldn't really finish it, but it was more along the same thing, but like just a
I
little
wish I knew
more.
the name of it. I'd want to listen to it anyway.
Hold on. Let me pull it up. I have my Audible. I can pull up my Audible right here right now. Oh, Everything is Fucked. That's what it's called.
Everything is fun.
Yeah, a book about hope, and it's all right. It just doesn't have that same like punch as like The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck because it's definitely like, wow, this really should be how I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it
The
does.
main premise of it is the more focused you are on yourself and your own self-improvement, the less worried you will inevitably be about what other people think of you. Just don't care.
Yeah,
You do you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's how to fight your own insecurities, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. Sounds pretty awesome.
Not gonna lie, as a streamer, I do apply some of those practices whenever I start having that self-doubt of, why am I streaming for 0 people today?
Yeah.
But a lot
You
of
just gotta
time,
like,
I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it anyway because I have fun.
yeah, just be like, who gives a fuck? That's why.
I mean, to me, I'm kind of like, because I want to fucking play this game.
Yeah, like that's it.
Fuck it.
Because I want to play this game and I have an internet connection, so why not let people watch me do it?
Yeah, and if they're not there, then fuck them. I'm doing it anyways.
Exactly. I ain't playing it for them. I'm playing it for me. They just are allowed to watch. Come along for the ride.
Right. I
Exactly.
mean, I would be lying if I said I don't enjoy when there's interaction, but I'm not going to beat myself up when
Same.
there's not. Because
Exactly.
because
I love the interaction.
you take the other part of it, you know? When one part's not there, just enjoy the other part of it.
Precisely.
And when
that's
both
what-
are, awesome.
That's what this book is sort of talking about, you know, how to get through that, how to deal with moments of self-doubt. It's a really good book, even though it doesn't sound like it, or it doesn't, sounds like it might give you wrong or bad advice. No, it doesn't. It's awesome. Amazing book.
Yeah.
Read it if
I
you
agree.
haven't.
Totally agree. So, How to Win Friends and Influence People and The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. 2 fantastic books that it's on the Wheel Life Problems recommendation list.
Well,
Yes.
so that last one that you brought up, Winning Friends, and what was it?
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Daniel Craigie, I think.
That is a book about marketing or what?
Dale Carnegie, that's who does it. Yeah, I mean, it's basically, I mean, a lot of the principles he draws back to business and stuff, but a lot of it is just
Okay.
like how to interact with people and to, to make things go as smooth as possible, not to not like not to just automatically shun an experience or I mean, it all comes back to a business standpoint of like if you treat people this way, you will succeed in these certain aspects and such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, it does have some roots in marketing, which is why I really enjoy it.
Yeah, which I definitely need to become better at.
Definitely recommended, almost required reading for anyone who wants to get into business of any kind.
Right. Rich Dad Poor Dad, that's also a pretty good book that I've read before. Which also it just talks about, expanding your financial intelligence when it comes to trying to make money in any aspect.
Yeah.
I can actually tell you what the last book I read was.
Hit me with it. Looks like you have your Audible open.
Ruthless, The Completionist Chronicles, Book 5. I've been loving that series.
Ruthless, what genre is that?
It is what some would consider in some ways a literary RPG genre.
Neat. I can't get into books like that, but still neat.
Yeah, I've just been reading a shitload of comics.
It's a really good story.
Neat. All right. What do you think? On that note, we should start wrapping things up before we start just
Yeah,
Rambling
staring at each other.
incoherently into
nothingness.
senseless topics, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Any finishing arguments? Last things to get off your chest? Anything you want to squeeze off your nipples?
Can't think of anything.
I don't know about anything with the nipple play, but
Nipple play is always accepted at any time of the day.
Wow. No comments. I plead the fifth.
He's just like,
All
no.
right, then, everyone. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Wheel Life Problems. You can subscribe to us wherever podcasts are found. Follow us on Twitter at Problems Wheel. You can follow me on social media. I'm at the Rickles. You can follow Bill. He's at Wheelchair Gamer, and you can follow John at Glitched Vision. Thanks again, and remember to keep it wheel.
And don't lose sight of the future.
See y'all.